Hi there, I'm Susan, your host of She Connects. Whether you're tuning in from nearby in my state of Minnesota, across the country, or somewhere around the world, I'm so glad that you are here. With so many outlets of information nowadays, I'm committed to adding value to your life and faith by offering content that helps awaken you to your purpose, align you to biblical truth, and activate you in your God-given gifts. You will hear from me and from time to time guests to the show that I know you will also appreciate hearing from. And now, without further ado, let's dive into this week's conversation. Hey ladies, welcome back to the show. I'm excited about this week's conversation. We are going to be talking about health and wellness. I know that I did an episode not that many weeks ago, maybe, I don't know, time flies, so maybe it's longer than what I'm thinking, but I want to say maybe like 6 weeks ago, but you can scroll back in the episode list and find that. That would probably be a really great place to start because it offers just some framework for what we're going to be talking about this week. But it's really our heart, mine and my special guest this week, to just encourage you and add value to your life and to remind you that you matter, your health matters. And, you know, as women, we are very busy, whether you are raising little kids, you have teenagers, or you're an empty nester. We all have very full lives, and to make yourself a priority, to make your health a priority. And so without further ado, I am going to invite and welcome my special guest, and you might even recognize her name if you were at the She Rises Women's Conference in 2024. She and her husband, Tom, were guests on a panel, and they've actually been guests here on the podcast before. But welcome back to the show, Jill Vandenheuvel.
Thank you, Susan. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about you and where you're joining us from.
I am in southern Minnesota and I'm at home. I'm here with my husband. We've been married for, almost 35 years. Yeah, looking forward to sharing more with you as we learn together and grow together.
Yes. So those of you that are maybe new to this corner of the internet, you may realize that, hey, you both have the same last name. And are you related? Well, yes, we are. we we are married to the Vandenheuvel boys. So I am married to Tim, and like Jill said, she is married to Tom. And so yes, we are related, and I'm happy about that. So I want to just jump into this and start talking about health and wellness. And I know that this is something that you are passionate about. But before I dive into just really kind of the crux of our conversation, I feel like I want to offer just a little bit of a background to your life and to your experience, because I know that you have experience working in a clinic hospital setting. Tell us a little bit about that.
Right. So I have about 20 years experience in the radiology world. I did x-ray, I did CT, I did mammography. I supervised a department. I also was on the help desk IT side of it. So I'm robustly involved in radiology till about 3 years ago. And, in radiology, we deal with a lot of different areas. My joy was always the patients and what can we do best for the patients. So
I love that. You are definitely patient driven. I love that about you. And I think that that is really lacking. And I told Jill before we started recording, I'm going to do my best to stay off a soapbox, but I just think that that's just really neat and so special. And I know that about you, that you are patient driven, patient focused. And I think that that's such a blessing in the medical community. And so I want to ask you, looking back to that time in your life, how did God lead you to helping people? And where did this passion come from?
It's a gift that God's created in me. I enjoy people. I'm actually an introvert, but I enjoy people. I enjoy helping people, listening to people. finding ways to be most efficient and helpful in the ways that we can help people.
I have to kind of chuckle because, with my ministry, and I'm kind of out, usually, except for recently because I've been busy with family things, but I'm typically, hosting conferences and speaking and different things like that. And so it's funny how people just assume that you're an extrovert, and like you, I am not. I am an introvert. And I mean, like, I saw a meme one time that said, all of the introverts unite to your own room. So it was like,
That'd be me.
I'm going right now. You don't have to tell me twice. Oh, so one of the biggest things I appreciate about your passion is that you approach health and wellness holistically. Why do you feel that approach is key?
Well, one from experiences that, the traditional Western medicine has failed me over and over and our family. And finding the more holistic route actually got created what we need. And so that's where we need to look for God's guidance, look for what he's created. And, all this messing that we do with food, with medicine, all of this isn't always the best. And so if we can find a more natural way, our body's going to like that better.
Yeah. Yeah. And why do you think that? Why do you think the body responds to that better?
Because God created that. And he, if we're putting natural good things into our body and moving our body, that's what God created our body to do. And
Mhm.
so that's why it reacts better to it. It's more natural for us.
Yeah. I think just living in the world, we all have felt stress. And I think that it's a well-known, documented fact that stress can really make you sick. And so I think that everyone is trying to manage stress in their lives, or at least wants to. In your own opinion, how do you think stress affects our health? And then do you think that there's classic signs that tell us we are carrying stress in our body?
Oh, absolutely. And all of us can probably contest to a lot of these. You get stressed, you get headaches, you get inflammation happens. So you have tension in your back and your neck, and you probably end up going to the chiropractor more because of it. It affects your gut health, which affects your brain health, which brain fog. So all of these things causes imbalances in your body because of the stress, which then causes more symptoms.
Yeah. Isn't it amazing? And we're women of faith, you've mentioned God a few times already. It's so amazing to me if you just step back and think about how God created us, how God created our bodies, and how they're meant to function and how they're meant to work. And I always say that God created us as whole beings. All of these things work together. You were drawing an association between gut health and brain health, and just how all of those things, they all matter and they all work together. And if you start to address, would you say, health in, like, maybe improving your gut health, you'll then see that affect other areas?
Absolutely. Yes.
Hmm.
Yes.
I think that sometimes, if we're honest, I think too, another classic sign that maybe we're trying to manage stress is we tend to grab for sugary foods or sugary
Caffeine.
drinks, or
Yep.
those types of things. And I know for myself, just because of the season that I'm in, being a caregiver for my dad, and it's just really been a lot. When I would come home just from the stress of everything, being gone for a week at a time, and just all the things that entailed, I remember times walking through the door and just dropping my bags on the floor and reaching for something, because it somehow, like, I believed it helped me to exhale and just kind of breathe, and like, it somehow, I thought that it was calming to me. And yet, at the same time, I knew that that wasn't a good choice.
Mhm.
And so, I think that I just feel prompted to share that, because someone possibly is listening, and we're not trying to shame anyone here. That's not what this conversation is about, because our hearts are really to speak life and to speak hope into your life and to encourage you. So we are not here to shame anyone. If you are in a really difficult season and you too are grabbing for things just to breathe, just to exhale, I so get that. I so get that. So even, like carrying stress in our bodies, do you think that that also contributes to different diseases and, anxiousness and, sleepless nights? So tell me a little bit more about that.
Yes. So, if you think about it, if your body is stressed, if you have inflammation, if your gut health isn't good, that's going to also start breaking down some other things. Your body's not going to be as in tune to be able to fight off things that come up. So then, it doesn't have the help that it needs. So, of course, it's going to allow you to be sick more often or allow other diseases to take place.
Yeah. Oh, so something very exciting. You recently started offering Inner Light Thermography.
Yeah.
Did I say that right?
Yes, you did. Good job.
Woohoo. I get an award. So explain to listeners what that is and how it works, because this is really neat.
Yes. So thermography is infrared imaging that is completely safe. There's no radiation, there's no contact, there's no compression. And so what it does is it detects the physiological things that are happening in your body. So you basically is your body trying to tell you something, right? And so it can find inflammation, kind of pinpoint inflammation or nerve things or vascular things, like if your carotid is having some blockage or you have varicose veins in your legs, or if, breast imaging. So if your body is trying to attack something. So if you think about cancer, usually it's very vascular because it's trying to feed it. So it can detect those things. So women's imaging, it's really, really important. And it's what's great is it's a safe way to monitor things as often as you want because it's not going to hurt you.
Okay, so let's back up and explain to maybe someone listening and they're like, vascular, what does that mean? I don't know what that means.
Oh, thank you. Yes. So you have veins all over the place, and your veins are like moving blood around. So then that is your vascular system. So your vascular system can adapt to things. So if there's something in your body that is attacking your body wants to get rid of that, or, that cancer cell is looking for nutrients to feed it to grow. And so the vascular system is going to attach to that and then help that grow.
Okay. And you have mentioned a few times so far inflammation.
Mhm.
And so tell us a little bit more about that. Like how does inflammation start and why does that negatively impact our health?
Sure. So inflammation can happen for all sorts of reasons, whether it's tension, whether it's you're sitting wrong, whether it's your body adjusting to something. Say you have an injury and you're walking differently. So that can cause an imbalance or inflammation at some area. So, why is that important? Sometimes it's hard to detect where exactly the fix is for that. And so, say, some people might know if you have sciatic pain, shooting leg pain down the back of your leg, it's hard to pinpoint maybe where that's coming from. And so, you doctor, or you go to a massage therapist, or you go to a chiropractor, and you've tried all sorts of things and you can't discover where the fix is, where that root is. And so thermography might be an option to help pinpoint where that is to direct your care team. Okay, let's focus on this area to help minimize that inflammation in that area, which could potentially help cure or get rid of the other pain that you're experiencing because of the inflammation in that area.
Gotcha. Okay. Very thorough explanation. I love that. Thank you.
You're
So
welcome.
I wanna make sure that we explain to listeners what to do if they would participate in this type of imaging, what to do with the results of that, like what the next step is. But first, before we get to that, I think that this is, well, maybe I guess you'll know, of course you would know, but is this something that's kind of like new on the block? I mean, is it been around for a while? Tell me a little bit about that.
As I'm learning about it, it's been around since about the 60s. And so,
Really?
yes, it has. And it's, ever growing knowledge. And of course, now that people are searching more for holistic things, I think it's becoming more and more known about. I am learning as I go here.
Okay. And so why do you feel like this is beneficial, more beneficial than, the traditional, you go in for your yearly mammogram or, other imaging in a traditional type setting? Why do you feel like this is more beneficial to people?
So every exam, including thermography, mammography, CT, MRI, all of them, they show different things. So they each have their place. What's great about thermography is it can detect things years before a lot of other things like mammography, CT can detect them because they're so small. Because thermography looks at the physiological aspect or the function of things, and radiology exams look at the physical or structure of things. And so, with collaboration, like I said, thermography being completely safe, no radiation or anything, you can be monitoring things for a long time or as often as you want, and it's not going to hurt you at all. And so then, you can go bring the report, your images to your doctor, and then they can decide if they want to do more imaging, whether that be a mammography or ultrasound or a CT, whatever, they choose to do.
Okay. Let's paint a picture for listeners who are just, their interest is piqued and they want to explore this further. So, of course, they would, make an appointment, correct? Okay, so they would make an appointment. Walk us through, like, step by step, the process of how this appointment would go.
Sure. So after you make your appointment, there's paperwork, especially the initial time that you would fill out. So there's like a health history form. We talk about family health history as well, and surgeries you've had, scars you have had, illnesses you've had, symptoms you're having, things like that. So we go through a pretty thorough health history. So then I can input that into the system and relay it to the medical doctor who is going to read the exam. We go through the health history. During that time, I have the person undress and put a robe on because I have the room temperature set to within a range, and your body needs to adjust to the temperature of that room. Because it's infrared camera, it detects heat patterns. And so, think about it, if you take your shirt off, underneath your shirt, your chest is going to be warmer than your cheek. So we want to get all of that body comfortable with the same temperature of the room. So as we're talking, that's going to happen. Then after we get the health history done, I will have you sit on a chair, a stool, and get my camera. And I'm going to be looking at my computer screen for most of the exam. But then during the body parts that I'm imaging, you will have your robe off. So you're not going to have any clothes on, and that's on purpose because of the temperature of the room, and we don't want anything holding in the heat. And so during that imaging of that body part, I'll be looking at my computer screen and we do numerous images. I'll have you turn around. During part of the exam, you're going to be standing. And then once the imaging is complete, I'll have you put your robe back on. I'll make sure I have all the images I need. I'll show you the images just so you kind of have an idea of what things look like. I can't diagnose anything because I am not a doctor, but I make sure I have everything in the images that I need. And then, you'll get dressed, you'll go. Usually within 4 to 7 business days, a report will come back to me, which includes all of your images. I review it just to make sure I don't have any questions. And then that report and images is emailed to you. And then you have that for your personal use, however you choose. There may be recommendations on there of, you should maybe get an ultrasound in this area or, talk to your doctor or dentist about this. So it's up to you whether you choose to do that or not. So you have that report and images to take to the doctor or send to the doctor if that's what you choose are your next steps.
Mm. So it sounds just pretty seamless and painless.
Yes.
And so there's no like there's no physical contact.
Nope.
You're just there, like the
There.
individual.
Yep. The most uncomfortable thing is you don't have your clothes on.
Yeah. Okay.
But like I said, I'm focused in on my computer. I don't really necessarily pay attention to you outside of that. And so, we want you to be as comfortable as possible. So if you're like, I'd rather leave this covered, that's your choice. And just know that you're not going to get a reading on that area. So,
Okay, so that is an option if they are really uncomfortable and that's really important to them.
correct. Yes.
Okay. And you mentioned that, and I've seen you share a little bit on social media, that it includes like the entire body, like from head to toe.
Yes, exactly. And so, when I do breast imaging, I always do facial because it's so important. Your oral health connects so close to your breast health. So, I want to make sure to capture that. So if you have an infection going on in your mouth, it's going to highlight that. And what I've read is, each tooth can be connected to a direct point in your body. So it's pretty interesting how your body works.
Wow, I did not know that.
Mhm.
It really goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Everything is connected and it's
Right.
that whole being. And I love that. And so you are now seeing clients.
Yes.
Okay. And where are you located?
I am located in Albert Lea, Minnesota. And what's exciting about this practice is I have a very small camera on a tripod and a computer. So I could be mobile and go to other places as well. And so, it's just building that, whatever's best for the patients, or if there's a practitioner that is like, I want to bring this to my practice, that's easily can be done. On my part, the biggest thing is having the room temperature be within a range is basically and having a little bit of space that I could move. But other than that, I'm mainly in Albert Lea right now, but it doesn't mean
Okay.
I can't grow.
Okay. Okay. And so people listening, the people tune into the podcast from all over that aren't necessarily, even in Minnesota or wherever. I mean, so obviously they'd have to travel here. Is this something that is widely available in other areas? Do you know?
There are locations. They would just Google it and see where the closest location is to them. I know it's worldwide. I know, I have doctors that read my exams that are in San Salvador or New Mexico. So, I mean, they're all over the world.
Wow. Okay. And so, for those of you that are maybe listening and you're a little bit more local, even maybe even, the Twin Cities area, Albert Lea is very southern Minnesota. Do they have to be local in your direct area or can they travel? And I mean, how does all that work?
I mean, like the client?
Yeah, they can travel to you.
Oh, absolutely. Yep, they can travel to me, and I know right now I'm limited on what day I'm scanning, but it doesn't mean if they reached out to me that I couldn't work around that because I do still work a full-time job that I'm trying to collaborate and hoping, dreaming God has this plan that my business is going to grow where I can just focus on this because this is my dream.
Okay. And I will include the link to be able to check this out further and, reach out to you with questions and to schedule an appointment. But just initially, people can go to your website and there's more information on the website. It kind of breaks it down, correct?
Yes, and I have a big area with frequently asked questions, and I'm continually growing that and growing the information I'm providing on my website. This is all fairly new, and I just got my website up and going probably last month. So, yeah, continuing to learn and grow and add and experience more for everybody.
hmm And so an individual doesn't necessarily have to have a whole body scan.
Um,
Let's say they want their breast tissue
yep.
scanned, that they could sign up for that, correct?
Yes, I have, I offer mainly a breast and facial together, like I talked about. They could do a half body, which mainly is not the arms or legs, and then a full body. And they recommend after your initial scan, no matter if you what body part, whole breasts, at 3 months after that, you do another of just your breast area. Just that is your baseline then. So they have a comparative of what your normal is. And also that gives them a time frame if there was a growth of anything that they could notice that. So they call it then you have your thermal fingerprint.
Okay. Oh, this is so exciting, I think. And even down in your area, are you the first to start offering this?
In Albert Lee, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Wow. That's amazing. Something to offer in that region and to just, make this available to people who just want to do something more than the conventional ways of imaging and just this sounds so much more healthy and um and I love that there's no contact, it's just yeah, I do know this about you, that I know that you will do everything that you can to make your clients feel comfortable and welcome. And so I really encourage you ladies to check out Jill and what she's offering through Inner Light Thermography. And be sure to check out the link in the show notes that will take you to her website. But we know that reaching a healthier place in our lives includes more than just the scale. And it seems like a lot of focus is on the scale. And I know that the scale, sometimes it feels like it's our enemy, but it can really be a friend to us because it gives us information. And so, of course, it doesn't tell the whole story. And I think that, we are more than, and you who are maybe listening, I just want you to be reminded that you are more than a number on a scale or the size in your genes. That is not who you are. And so I want to talk about what I refer to as non-scale victories. You're someone is maybe taking actionable steps to improve their health, and maybe the scale isn't moving as quickly as they would like. But I think that if we sort of step back and look at maybe other improvements, other ways that our health is improving, those are what I refer to as non-scale victories. And so it's not solely based on the scale. And if we base our health on a number, we can easily miss other ways that we're improving our overall well being. Would you agree?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So, in your opinion, what non scale victories can someone achieve as they take actionable steps to improve their health?
As I've been thinking about this, because we're all so, especially women, very hard on ourselves and our image and how we look, you know, the focus of what about changing one thing?
Yeah.
How about this week I get up from my chair 2 times instead of 0 during the day? That's a win because you're moving. What if when I go to the grocery store, I get one organic fruit and I try to make that change and then gradually build off of that? And if you miss 1 week, it's okay.
Yeah.
You miss a day, or if, it doesn't mean you're back to square one. You're not. It is a progression to improve you, or say you take time 5 minutes for yourself today.
Hmm.
That's a win.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I think that those are really great points because we all have to start somewhere, but we can't start if we don't get to the starting line. And so I think that being encouraged to even just make one change, like, I mean, you pointed out just some really simple, I mean, those are simple. Anybody could do those. Even maybe going for a walk around the block in the evening
Yes.
instead of binge watching television, just moving your body and just being reminded that all of those things add up, right? I mean, they add up. They eventually will just really jumpstart other changes. in your health. And so I think that some other non-scale victories as you are beginning to take these steps, you can see improved sleep. Maybe you're losing inches. Maybe it's not the scale that's moving, but you're losing inches. And that's really important. You're getting rid of some of that visceral fat, maybe, and just improving that, improved mood, and even lowering blood pressure. I think just all of those things are really important non-scale victories. And I have to say, if I'm going to be completely honest, as I've gotten older, I mean, I'm 55 now. I remember, when I was in my 20s, I mean, it was all about the scale. It was all, I mean, that was the thing. And so I get that. But man, at this age now, and just seeing loved ones who are sick and declining in their health, you know, I feel like for me, what's important is my blood work and longevity and just the whole like overall health. And yeah, it's great when the scale is moving, but I don't know, like it's been really interesting how those things sort of evolve, as we get older. And it's those things that when the labs come back that I'm interested in, because I'm thinking about my future. And I want to invite you to speak into this. I think that especially as women, we mentioned earlier, we're busy and we oftentimes are putting other things and other people, our kids, our spouses, our job, volunteering at church, all the things ahead of ourselves. And sometimes we fall so far down on the priority list, if we even make the list, at times. And I don't know, I just feel like I want to remind you that you matter and we want you to be around. We want you to be healthy. And so what else would you add to that, Jill?
As you were speaking to that, some of the victories are you able to get down and play with your kids or your grandkids? Are you able to go for a walk with them? Are you able to take them to the park? All of those moving things. Do you feel good enough to do that? And if not, that's okay. You're at a point, but how can you take that first step forward to be able to do that? Because that's what it's about, is the relationships, the community, your kids, your grandkids, they want to spend that time with you, and that's why it's so important for you to take care of you.
Yeah, so important. And I don't think that either one of us, I speak for Jill, I know that she would agree. I don't think we can stress that enough, that you are important, you matter, and it's okay. It's not being selfish to make yourself a priority and to take care of yourself. That is not being selfish at all. Yeah, I could go off on a whole thing with that, but I'm going to have self-control. So we've established a good foundation so far in our conversation, and we've even talked about some realistic, actionable steps that we can take starting today to improve our overall health. And so before I move on from there, is there anything else that you wanted to add to that?
Just know, I can say for myself, I've been through heavier times. I've been through non-fit times. I was at the fittest I was probably, 5 years ago, and I've lapsed again. It's okay. It's a cycle. And, we all go through that. Don't be hard on yourself, but just know that you are loved and you are important. And it's okay to fall back sometimes, but it's okay to pick up yourself up and make yourself a priority again.
Yeah. I always say that falling down is a part of life, but getting back up is living.
Yes, that's good.
I just echo your and appreciate your honesty there. I know before I became a caregiver, I had some really optimal health in my life. And because this season has been so challenging, and my dad in and out of the hospital and appointment after appointment after appointment, and just all of the travel, and I don't want to get off into the weeds with that, but I know that just I was in survival mode. And so, just grabbing things here or there, constantly grazing or grabbing fast food or something at the gas station or hospital food or whatever, and copious amounts of caffeine. And so my health did take a hit, and I did find myself taking the back seat. My health took a back seat. And so we say all of that again to just encourage you that we, as Jill said, as women, we can be really hard on ourselves, and we don't want you to do that. And even more than that, God doesn't want you to do that. There's no shame here. He's not condemning you. And so, like Jill said, we can pick up and start again, and just changing the narrative, I think, in our minds of, oh man, now I got to start over, to I can start, I can begin again. I think that those narratives, like, they feel and they sound different. One feels so defeated, like, oh man, I got to start over, versus I can begin again. I mean, that's empowering and encouraging. Like, you know what? This isn't going to define me. This season isn't going to define me. This setback is temporary and it's not going to define me. I can get up and I can start living again. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. I needed to hear that today.
Oh, okay. Well, and I think that, your just very realistic encouragement of actionable steps are some things that, I mean, I have implemented those to regain areas of my health that I lost in this season. And I found myself just really discouraged in, like, oh man, this is like, I've lost things here. But man, you know what? I'm seeing them come back, and I'm sleeping better. And I mean, it's just, so those non-scale victories are just so important, really, really important. So I want to, as we're wrapping up, I want to invite you to speak to the woman listening who feels overwhelmed in life right now. Maybe you are listening and you are really just resonating with some things that I've been sharing. It might not look like me. The details might be different. You might not be a caregiver, but you are in a hard season. And the mere thought of taking even one of those steps just feels too hard. Jill, what would you say to her? How would you encourage her today?
That you are worth it. You are worth every minute of it. Even if it's a 1 second change, that's a step in the right direction. And I know that sometimes that even seems overwhelming, but you have to take that step in faith because God has you and He will not fail you. And just know that that's all you need.
Yeah, so good. I'm so glad that you said you're worth it. You're worth it. And I don't care how many times a person hears that, it's never enough. I think that we need to be reminded of that all of the time. So thank you for speaking into the lives of the listening community, for adding value to their lives. And this has been a really good conversation. I look forward to having you on again. I think that it would be really good to continue this conversation because I just feel like we need encouragement. We're a judgment-free zone where we're not judging, we're not shaming anybody. We're just here to encourage and champion women in every area of their lives. So, Jill, thank you so much for joining us this week. And ladies, be sure to check out, like I said, the link in the show notes to get a hold of Jill and check out what she's doing with Inner Light Thermography. I think that it's just really such an asset to your health. And I know that Jill would love to help you any way that she can. But until next week, have a great rest of your week and remember that you matter. Thank you for joining the conversation this week. I hope you'll join us again next week. And if you're new here, a big welcome to you. I humbly encourage you to follow and to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. A new episode is available each and every Wednesday. It's free to subscribe. It's free to follow. I won't bother you with any annoying emails. You can follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Susan Vandenheuvel to be encouraged throughout the week and updated on future ministry events.